Hello everyone, it's time for another series where we break down the literature you know and love. Our summer reading program is coming up and our theme is how reading colors our world, and I took this pretty literally to mean that we should explore some of the illustrators within the media we see every day. Specifically artwork from children's stories, because those are the stories that tend to stick with us. So let's kick this off with a name that everyone should be familiar with. So Eric Carle was born in 1929 in New York, but very soon after he moved back to Nazi Germany where his family was from, and he spent most of his early childhood learning about nature with his father, and he found solace from the harsh reality of everything in his surroundings, mainly in art. He learned from the drawings of Picasso and Matisse, whose drawings were banned at the time for being abstract. He returned back to his home state of New York in 1952 with the intention to create art. He took a job with a promotional department of the New York Times, and it was there that he met Bill Martin, who became his future partner, and it prompted him to make their first book together called Brown Bear, What Do You See?, which was quickly followed by 1, 2, 3 to the Zoo and The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Now, we recognize Carle's artwork by its crazy colors and animals and abstract ideals. I remember in first grade, we had a whole unit just devoted to Eric Carle, where we created like all these special little drawings of animals that we liked and saw every day, and we chose our own crazy colors. And I don't know, most of his books have themes that stem from nature and animals and colors that children recognize. I think his drawings present as curious and really just cute. I think he really paved a way for more abstract artwork in children's books. I think that his work inspires people to pick elements from their own lives and bring that to life, in a story, or create stories around things that children might see day to day. Many of Martin's and Carle's work can be found at the Crystal Lake Public Library. You can also find Eric's autobiography of sorts titled Flora and Tiger, 19 Very Short Stories from My Life. He's a really fascinating man with a beautiful respect for children's literature, and I love him for all the artwork that he gave me when I was little. Another illustrator I want to talk about is Beatrix Potter, who is a huge reason why we have most of the artwork that we have today. She was born in England in 1866, and as a child she drew animals and created these little greeting cards which she sold. Probably her most famous work is her first ever published storybook, The Tale of Peter Rabbit, around 1902. This book was incredibly successful, and it prompted many sequels over the following years featuring different characters from her world. Her drawings were pretty simplistic and showed realistic animal characters with lines and colors that children could recognize in real life. Similar to Eric Carle, she drew inspiration from flora and fauna and just nature all around us, but her books are more so filled with adventure and like pleasant little voyages that these animals are going on. Her books obviously possess a thrilling quality since they've stuck with us for almost 120 years. I wanted to highlight her because she is one of the main inspirations behind lots of the artists who came after her. Many of them accredit her pioneered work in animal and nature drawings for their own ideas. At the Crystal Lake Public Library, you can find many biographies and many versions of Peter Rabbit, but one of my favorite biographies about Beatrix Potter is called Saving the Countryside, The Story of Beatrix Potter and Peter Rabbit by Linda L. Lovitz Marshall. I highly recommend. It is very cute. The last artist I want to talk about today is Maurice Sendak. Born in Brooklyn in 1928, Maurice is probably one of the leading children's book authors and illustrators of the 20th century. Maurice always knew that he wanted to tell stories. In high school, he worked for All American Comics, and he got involved with the editors at Harper & Brothers, which is a pretty big publishing company. This led us to an extensive career. In his lifetime, he wrote and designed 34 books and illustrated 43 others, which is an entirely huge body of work. His most famous would have to be Where the Wild Things Are. I have very specific memories of reading this book like in class or like with my mom and like right before bedtime and at story times at the Crystal Lake Public Library. It's a pretty striking piece when paired with some of the other literature I've been talking about. It's got intriguing little drawings, and I really like this book because it appears slightly darker than like most ideas. It's like more contemporary, a little bit more creepy on the side, I would say. But it has this kind of like timeless fantasy message, and I think it really captures like what picture books are supposed to be about, like imagination, like, because the whole point of the book is that this kid is going off and exploring, and every time a child opens a book, that's what they're supposed to be doing. So he kind of pioneered this new partnership between pictures and stories where kids were reading and also adventuring at the same time using the drawings that he's giving them. Where the Wild Things Are can be found at the Crystal Lake Public Library in book format and DVD, along with many other stories. There are so many impeccable illustrators to name. We have access to so many wonderful authors nowadays. These people that I've mentioned in this video have expanded our worldview and the possibilities behind artwork for children's stories and reading in general. I think they're the foundation of so many people's childhoods, even if you don't recognize it. The things that we read as children influence so much about us, and I'm so glad that I had the works of Carle and Maurice Sendak to teach me about nature and imagination. And that's why I think reading programs are so important, because they give children the chance to read so many different types of books. The summer reading program ends August 8th, so you can still sign up. You can find the sign up on the library's website. Please check out all of the books that I mentioned today and have a wonderful week. Let's end with a simple quote from Carle. Simplify, slow down, be kind, and don't forget to have art in your life.